While his pregnant wife was dying in surgery, he was dining with his mistress.
Northwestern Memorial Hospital buzzed with urgency as nurses wheeled Lauren Caldwell through the hallway toward the operating room. Her face was pale, contorted in pain, and streaked with sweat. Blood soaked the thin sheet beneath her. "Placenta? Previa," the attending nurse shouted. "Significant bleeding. Emergency C-section now." Lauren clutched her swollen belly. "Please, save Emily." Meanwhile, across the city, Ethan Caldwell wasn't pacing outside a surgical room or gripping his wife's hand. He was walking through the mahogany doors of Gibson's Steakhouse, adjusting his blue tie and checking his reflection in the glass. The tie wasn't for Lauren. Jenna Carlisle liked this one. But seated in the private booth wasn't Jenna. It was Michael Trent, Ethan's personal attorney and closest friend since college. "What are you doing here?" Ethan asked, slipping into the booth, his composure tightening. Michael didn't answer. He slid a leather folder across the table. Ethan didn't reach for it. "Where's Jenna?" "She's not coming," Michael replied coolly. "And frankly, neither should you have." Ethan scoffed. "You're being dramatic." Michael leaned in. "I got a call from Northwestern 15 minutes ago. Lauren's in surgery. They couldn't reach you, so they called me." Ethan blinked. "Surgery?" "She said she was bleeding, but I thought, you thought you had time." Michael snapped. "You left your pregnant wife hemorrhaging on a hospital bed to meet your mistress for steak." Ethan's mouth opened, but no words came. Michael reached into the folder and pulled out a photo. "Recognize this? Jenna, for Seasons Hotel last month. The FBI's been following her. She's not just your side fling. She's the niece of a CEO under investigation. You've been sleeping with a federal liability." Ethan's throat dried. He didn't move. Then his phone buzzed. New message. "Complications during surgery. Doctor needs to speak with you immediately." Ethan stared at it, heart thudding. "You built your empire by being 5 moves ahead," Michael said, voice low. "But right now, you're not even in the game." Ethan stood abruptly. "I have to go." Michael caught his arm. "One more thing." Jenna's flipped. "The FBI already has her statement." The color drained from Ethan's face. He turned and bolted toward the door. As the door swung shut behind him, Michael sighed into his drink. And that might just be the beginning. The hospital hallway smelled like antiseptic and panic. Ethan Caldwell burst through the double doors of the maternity wing just as a nurse was closing them behind a gurney. He recognized Lauren's face, barely conscious, pale, her lips trembling. "That's my wife," he shouted. A nurse held him back. "She's being prepped. Dr. Hartman will speak with you shortly." "What's going on?" he demanded. "I want details now." A second nurse stepped forward, calm but firm. "Mrs. Caldwell is experiencing placenta previa. She's bleeding heavily. The baby's in distress. We're prepping for emergency surgery." Ethan's hands curled into fists. "How bad is it?" Dr. Hartman appeared just in time, surgical mask dangling from her neck. "Mr. Caldwell, the situation is serious. We have to act fast to save both your wife and your baby. Do we have your consent?" He nodded, words sticking in his throat. "Then wait here. We'll update you after the procedure." She disappeared down the corridor. Left alone, Ethan sank into a chair in the waiting room, heart racing. Just 2 hours ago, he'd been planning a career-defining deal and a secret rendezvous. Now his world was unraveling. His phone buzzed again. New message from Jenna Carlisle. "Did Michael show up? You okay?" He didn't reply. Couldn't. The last thing he needed was Jenna's manipulative concern. The FBI, the surveillance photos, Michael's warning, echoed louder now. Jenna wasn't a lover. She was a weapon. And he'd handed her the ammunition. A nurse passed by carrying bloody linens. Ethan stood abruptly, pacing. What the hell was he doing at Gibson's? What kind of man leaves his wife, his child, for a lunchtime affair, wrapped in blue silk in danger? He knew the answer. The kind of man who measures success in stock points and dominance. Who treats love like a merger, loyalty like leverage. He looked around the waiting room, fathers clinging to diaper bags, moms holding toddlers, grandmothers whispering prayers. And here he was, a man worth hundreds of millions, completely powerless. Then the doors opened. Dr. Hartman emerged, her eyes tired, her gloves stained. Ethan stepped forward. Is she? Are they okay? We've stabilized both of them, she said. Emily's in the NICU. She's small, but breathing. Lauren's recovering, but she lost a lot of blood. She asked for you when she woke up. Ethan exhaled. Relief hit him like a punch, but Dr. Hartman didn't finish. She also asked if you were at the hospital the entire time. Ethan looked away. She mentioned a name. Jenna. Then her vitals spiked. A beat passed. I don't know what your situation is, Mr. Caldwell, Dr. Hartman said coldly. But stress like that could have killed her. And just like that, Ethan realized no matter how much money he made, or how many boardrooms he dominated, the one place he needed to be, he hadn't been. Not as a husband, not as a father, not even as a man. The NICU smelled like warm plastic and quiet heartbreak. Ethan Caldwell stood beside a clear incubator, staring down at his newborn daughter, Emily. She weighed just under 4 pounds. Her chest rose and fell under the rhythm of a ventilator. Tubes ran into her arms, her nose, her fragile ribs moving like wings trying to take flight. His hand hovered near the incubator's port. Go ahead, the nurse said softly. She knows her father's voice. Ethan slipped his hand through the opening. His fingers trembled as they touched her smaller than a thumbprint. Her hand curled instinctively around his finger, like she was already fighting to hold on to something she didn't even know she had. He didn't deserve that grip. Not yet. The nurse moved away, giving him space. Hey there, he whispered, voice cracking. It's your dad. I'm here now. I should have been earlier. I know that, but I'm here. Behind him, the glass door to the NICU slid open. Michael Trent entered, dressed in the same suit from Gibbs. Tie loosened, folder still in hand. Ethan didn't turn. Michael stood beside him, watching Emily in silence. She's beautiful, he said eventually. She almost died, Ethan replied, barely audible. Michael nodded. And so did your wife. Ethan finally looked at him. I didn't plan for this, Michael. I thought I was in control of everything, of everyone. That's always been your problem, Michael said. You think control is the same thing as love. Ethan didn't argue. What could he say? Michael opened the folder again, and slid it toward the edge of the NICU table. Internal sec briefings. FBI transcripts. You've been under observation for 4 months. Jenna Carlisle is cooperating. She gave them emails, call logs, even recordings. Ethan paled. Recordings of what? Everything. You bragging about the Jefferson tip? The merger strategy. How you flipped trades for BlackRock. Ventures after she accidentally left her laptop open. He gritted his teeth. That wasn't insider trading. It was hearsay. No jury will buy that. Not when it's been turned into a pattern. Not with Jenna painting you as the mastermind. She's lying. Of course she is. But she's better at it than you. And she's got the government on her side. Ethan turned back to Emily, her tiny chest pumping with mechanical help. If I lose everything, the company, the house, the name, what do I have left? Michael looked at the incubator. That, and maybe, if you're smart, a chance to protect what actually matters. Ethan closed his eyes. For years, he'd treated trust like currency, and loyalty like a stock option. But babies don't negotiate. They just breathe, or they don't, and real love doesn't. Wait in a booth at Gibson's. It sits in hospital corridors, counting each breath of someone too small to understand betrayal. He lowered his head beside the incubator. I need to fix this. Michael didn't nod, didn't pat his back. He just said, then start. 2 hours later, Lauren Caldwell lay in a dim recovery room, hooked to fluids, eyes half open but conscious. The soft rhythmic beep of monitors filled the silence. Ethan stood at the foot of her bed, unsure how to speak. He'd made a career commanding rooms with his voice, but now words felt useless. Lauren's eyes fluttered open. She saw him, and for a flicker of a second, her lips curved relief. But then her gaze hardened. You're here, she said weakly, her voice dry. Of course I'm here, he replied, trying to sound steady. I wouldn't be anywhere else. She stared at him. His breath faltered. You weren't here, she whispered. Ethan sat down beside her, gently brushing a hair from her forehead. I came as soon as I asked for you, she interrupted, her voice stronger now. I begged them to find you, and you were with her, weren't you? He looked away. Silence confirmed everything. Lauren turned her head slowly toward the window, blinking back tears. Emily could have died. I could have died. I know. No, Ethan, she said. You don't know. You don't know what it's like to be wheeled into an operating room, wondering if your child will live and your husband is elsewhere. He reached for her hand. She pulled it back. The door creaked open, and a nurse stepped in. Mrs. Caldwell, it's time for your medication. I need a moment, Lauren said firmly, without breaking eye contact with Ethan. The nurse nodded and slipped out. I'm not going to pretend anymore, Lauren said once they were alone. I know about Jenna. I've known for months. Ethan froze. I saw the Four Seasons charges on your card. I saw how she looked at you at the Henderson Gala. I just didn't want to believe it. I ended it, Ethan said quickly. Lauren stared at him. Today, after the hospital called, after Michael told me everything. I didn't know the FBI. You didn't know, she repeated, nodding bitterly. You didn't know a lot of things. You didn't know you were destroying our marriage. You didn't know you were risking prison. You didn't know how much I forgave, over and over, waiting for the man I married to come back. Ethan leaned forward, desperate. I still love you. I love Emily. I want to make this right. She closed her eyes, breathing slowly. You say that now. But you also said you'd be here. And you weren't. A soft knock interrupted them. A nurse opened the door again. Mr. Caldwell, Dr. Hartman needs to speak with you urgently. It's about the NICU. Ethan shot to his feet, blood draining from his face. Lauren didn't look at him. Go, she said. That's where you should have been in the first place. As he walked out, her voice followed him. Quiet but heavy. Don't promise to stay unless you mean it. And this time, he didn't answer, because he wasn't sure he could. Ethan Caldwell paced the hallway outside the NICU, hands jammed into his coat pockets. Heart thudding, in uneven bursts. The cold hospital air bit at his skin. Seconds felt like hours. Then the doors opened. Dr. Hartman stepped out, removing her surgical gloves. Her expression was tight, controlled. She's stable for now, she said. Emily developed a respiratory infection. We've put her back on the ventilator. She's responding to antibiotics, but the next 24 hours are critical. Ethan's chest hollowed. Can I see her? In a moment, she said, then paused. Mr. Caldwell, your wife mentioned something during intake about stress and your absence. During the emergency, I understand you're under a lot, but I'm going to say this plainly right now. What your daughter needs is presence, not excuses. He nodded, swallowing the shame. I understand. As the doctor turned away, Ethan's phone vibrated again. New message from an unknown number. We need to talk. Urgent. It's Jenna. Ethan hesitated. Then, with a curse under his breath, he stepped into an empty corridor and answered. Jenna, he hissed. Her voice came fast and low. Don't hang up. They came to the office. The FBI. They questioned Richard, my uncle. They seized my laptop. You told them everything. He snapped. I had to. She shot back. They threatened indictment. Prison. My career would be over. I gave them what they needed, Ethan. I protected myself. You gave them me, he said. She went quiet. He clenched his jaw. You used me from day one, didn't you? Feeding off my trades, my intel. You think you're the only one who uses people, she snapped. Don't act like the victim, Ethan. You got what you wanted, and so did I. The hallway spun slightly. This isn't over, he said. Oh, it's over, Jenna replied. For you. They're building their case, and I'm not going down with you. Click. The line went dead. Ethan stared at his phone. For years he'd operated with military precision, always in control. Always 3 moves ahead. Now he was caught in someone else's game, and losing. He turned and walked back toward the NICU. This time, no security team, no assistants, no shield of money or status. A father, terrified. Inside, Emily lay under soft lights. Her tiny chest, working against the ventilator. He slid his hand through the port again, letting her fingers wrap around his. I'm here, he whispered. The doors opened again. Michael Trent entered, his face tight. I just got a call from the Justice Department. It's happening. Ethan didn't move. They're coming after you, Ethan. Formal charges, securities, fraud, possibly conspiracy. They want to meet this week. Ethan finally looked up. Let them. Michael blinked. What? I'm done hiding. Jenna played me. I left Lauren when she needed me most. I almost lost my daughter. He turned to Emily. I can't undo all of it. But maybe I can start fixing what matters. Michael studied him. You're serious. Ethan nodded. Set the meeting. I'll cooperate fully. He glanced down at Emily's impossibly small fingers. If I have to lose everything to keep her safe, then so be it. 2 days later, the NICU was quieter. Emily's breathing had stabilized. The infection was receding. Tubes still surrounded her, but the color had returned to her skin, and her vitals flickered with signs of fight. Ethan Caldwell hadn't left the hospital once. He'd slept in a chair, eaten vending machine granola bars, answered every one of Michael Trent's calls. But most importantly, he'd stayed for Lauren, for Emily, for the version of himself he thought might still be salvageable. Now, as he stood once again beside the incubator, Emily's eyes fluttered open for the first time, amber Lauren's eyes. Ethan exhaled a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. Behind him, the door opened. He turned, expecting a nurse. It was Michael. You ready for this? His lawyer asked, holding a folder that looked heavy enough to sink a yacht. Ethan didn't flinch. Let's go over it again. Michael opened the folder. You'll be sitting with Assistant U.S. Attorney Keene and Special Agent Delgado. They've agreed to consider a reduced sentence if you fully cooperate. But they want names. Ethan partners, associates, everyone who knowingly benefited from insider info. Ethan's jaw clenched. That includes my entire executive team. It does. He looked back at Emily. Michael hesitated. You sure you want to do this? I made this mess, Ethan said. They helped me profit from it. Sure. But I led them into it. Michael nodded. You'll likely be offered a plea deal. 2, maybe 3 years with good behavior. It doesn't matter, Ethan interrupted. As long as they're safe. Michael closed the folder and handed him a pen. Then let's start with the Jefferson merger. But before Ethan could sign, the door creaked open again. It was Lauren. She stood just inside, pale and exhausted, but upright. Her eyes locked onto Ethan. Her gaze drifted briefly to the document in his hands. You're going to turn yourself in, she said. Ethan nodded slowly. Lauren stepped closer to the incubator, her hand brushing gently against Emily's port window. She opened her eyes this morning. I saw. She has mine, Lauren whispered. But she has your stubbornness. Ethan almost smiled. Almost. Lauren looked at the pen in his hand. Do it. But know this: if you lie again, if you leave again, you won't just lose your company, you'll lose us. Permanently, I know. He met her eyes, no longer trying to charm or negotiate. Then, in one motion, he signed. Lauren watched him for a moment, then turned back to Emily. Whatever it takes, Ethan said, voice low. For her, Lauren said softly. Not for you. Not for us. Just for her. Michael slipped the folder back into his bag. I'll call Keene. Meetings tomorrow morning. As he left the room, Lauren reached into the incubator, letting her fingers rest beside their daughter's tiny hand. Ethan stepped back, giving her space. But for the first time, he didn't feel excluded. He felt accountable. And that, finally, was a start. The Department of Justice building was sterile and cold, not intimidating in the way Ethan Caldwell expected, but clinical. Designed to strip you down to facts, numbers, and consequences. He sat across from Assistant U.S. Attorney Keene, a hawk-eyed woman in a gray blazer, and Special Agent Delgado, expressionless, his notepad already open. Beside Ethan sat Michael Trent, stone-faced but calm. This is a voluntary cooperation interview, Keene began, pressing record on a small device. You've waived your right to counsel for the purpose of providing a sworn statement. Are you ready to proceed, Mr. Caldwell? Ethan nodded. Yes. State your name for the record. Ethan James Caldwell. And you understand that the information you provide may be used against you unless and until a formal cooperation agreement is approved by this office? I understand. Keene flipped a page. Let's begin with the Jefferson merger. How did you first obtain confidential information? Ethan took a deep breath. From Jenna Carlisle. She gave me details about Jefferson's undervalued tech division. She also told me about a patent approval that would cause a stock surge. You traded on that information. Yes. And I shared it with 3 senior partners, Jacob Reynolds, Denise Hartley, and Paul Ling. They executed trades across multiple shell accounts. I have emails and wire logs showing coordinated activity. Keene didn't react. Delgado just wrote. And the Apex IP? She asked. Same method, different company, same pattern. For the next hour, Ethan unraveled everything. He didn't protect anyone, not even the partners. who had once toasted him over cigars and steak, celebrating quarterly bonuses earned from poison trades. By the time he finished, he felt hollow. Keene slid a new document across the table. This is a preliminary cooperation agreement. It includes your statement and an initial plea offer. Securities fraud, obstruction of justice. Maximum sentence, 5 years, but with full cooperation. We'll recommend 2. Michael leaned in. He'll sign it. Ethan didn't hesitate. As he scrolled his name, Keene added, we'll need testimony, depositions, possibly court appearances. I'll be there, he said. You're making the right choice, Mr. Caldwell Delgado said, closing his notebook. Ethan wasn't sure if it was a compliment or a warning. That night, he returned to the hospital. The NICU lights were dimmed for the evening, but Emily was still awake, her eyes scanning the shadows, her tiny chest rising and falling without the ventilator now. Ethan sat beside her, resting his hand against the side of the incubator. Hey, sweetheart, he whispered. I told them everything. Every name, every deal, the whole mess. It won't fix everything, but maybe it's a step. His phone buzzed in his pocket. A message from Michael. The media's already picked it up. Jenna's going on the offensive. She's claiming you manipulated her into giving you insider info. Damage control's going to be rough. Ethan stared at the message, then back at Emily. I don't care, he murmured. Let the world think what it wants. You're the only thing I want to be good for. Behind him, he didn't hear the door open. But Lauren was there, watching. The morning sunlight filtered through the hospital room, casting a soft glow on Lauren Caldwell's face. She sat upright in bed, reviewing a thick manila envelope Michael Trent had dropped off earlier that day. Inside, asset protection documents, trust structures, revisions to Emily's financial future and hidden accounts. Accounts Ethan never told her about. She'd asked Michael directly. I want everything. Every off-the-books trust, every shell corporation. I need to know what I'm protecting Emily from. Michael had hesitated. Are you sure, Lauren? I wasn't sure before, she said, but now I see him clearly. Now, sitting alone with pages of documentation before her, Lauren realized the truth. She'd loved a man she never really knew. Ethan Caldwell had built an empire, but beneath the surface was a maze of secrets of insider trades, tax haven accounts under names that didn't exist. He said he was cooperating now. Said he was doing the right thing. But Lauren had learned the hard way redemption meant little without accountability, and that meant preparing for what might come next. The door creaked open. She didn't look up. I didn't want to interrupt, Ethan said softly. Lauren continued reading. Then don't. He stepped closer anyway. I saw Emily this morning. She's doing better. Vitals are up. Oxygen stable. Lauren nodded without emotion. She opened her eyes again. After you left. Ethan hesitated, then pulled the chair close. I signed the cooperation deal yesterday. Gave them everything. The Justice Department's building the case. She finally looked at him. And what happens to you? Likely 2 years, maybe less. I'm ready to accept that. Lauren's gaze was unreadable. You think that makes you a hero? That confessing after you were caught earns you absolution? I don't expect forgiveness, he said. I just want to be better. For her. She exhaled slowly. I believe you think that's true, but Ethan, the man you've been, isn't someone I'd trust with Emily's future. Silence filled the room. Then she added, so I'm making sure she never depends on you. Ethan blinked. What do you mean? I've already begun moving the remaining funds. I'm securing her trust in my name alone. I'm shifting ownership of the penthouse. The car's everything that can't be seized. I'm protecting. Ethan's jaw tightened. You think I'd come after my own daughter? No, she said. I think the man I married doesn't know who he is without power, and I won't let you rebuild an empire on her back. He stood, wounded, pride flickering in his eyes. You really believe I'd stoop that low? I believe you already did. As he turned to leave, Lauren called after him. You can still be her father, Ethan, but not until you stop being a liability. Ethan froze, then nodded, and walked out alone. The headline broke mid-morning. Billion-dollar empire collapses. Ethan Caldwell. Implicated in massive insider trading scandal. Within minutes, it was everywhere. CNBC, Bloomberg, Twitter, YouTube. Thumbnails with his face circled in red. Photos of Ethan in expensive suits stepping into black cars. Voiceovers, scandals, stock tickers flashing red. Media vultures had their feast. Back at the hospital, Ethan stood at the NICU window, watching Emily sleep. He'd just come from another debriefing call with the Justice Department. They were moving swiftly now. Search warrants, arrests, subpoenas. Everything was falling. His phone buzzed. Michael. They're indicting Reynolds and Hartley today. Jenna's lawyer is posturing, but her immunity deal's fragile. Lauren's name came up. Some reporters are asking about her connection to your offshore assets. Ethan typed fast. Tell them she knew nothing. She had nothing to do with it. I'll make a public statement if I have to. He wouldn't let her get dragged into his downfall. Especially not now. He turned as the NICU door opened. Lauren stepped in. She was dressed, finally discharged, wearing a simple black blouse and jeans. There was nothing fancy about her appearance. Yet somehow, she looked more powerful than he'd ever seen her. I heard, she said. Ethan didn't ask how. The board voted to dissolve Caldwell Capital, he said flatly. My name's gone from the door. Good. He looked at her. You're not surprised. I'm not, she said. Because this was always going to happen. She walked over to Emily's incubator, her voice softening. She's breathing easier today. The doctor says we may take her home next week. That's amazing, Ethan said, unable to stop the emotion rising in his throat. She deserves peace. Lauren didn't respond immediately. Then slowly she said, I've been speaking with Michael about the rest of your assets. What the government hasn't frozen, I've secured under new protective entities. He nodded. I figured you would. Her eyes narrowed slightly. And I moved the Cayman accounts too. The ones you thought I didn't know about. Ethan's eyes widened. How? You talked in your sleep, Ethan. You mentioned account numbers, passwords. I wrote everything down. Months ago. A beat passed. You outplayed me, he said. No, she corrected gently. I outprotected her. Silence stretched between them. Then Lauren reached into the incubator and touched Emily's tiny hand. She deserves a life not built on shadows, she whispered. So, I'm going to give it to her. With or without you. Ethan nodded. I don't blame you. Behind them, the TV in the waiting room played a news segment. A reporter's voice crackled through. A dramatic fall for Ethan Caldwell, once dubbed the kingmaker of modern finance. Insiders say the final blow was delivered by someone within his own circle. Ethan listened, eyes on his daughter. I built an empire, he said quietly. But it was hollow. It was never built to last. Lauren looked at him then, not with hatred, not with pity, but with clarity. You can still build something, she said. Just not with money. And for the first time, he believed it might be possible. The federal courtroom was packed. Reporters filled the gallery. Sketch artists hovered in corners. And flashes from the hallway. Cameras painted light on Ethan. Caldwell's final reckoning. He stood beside Michael Trent at the defense table, dressed in a plain navy suit. No watch, no power tie, just a man, stripped of title, status, and illusion. The judge entered. Court is now in session. A U.S. attorney read the list of charges. Securities fraud, conspiracy, obstruction of justice. Ethan listened in silence. Michael leaned in. Remember, they're honoring the plea deal. 2 years, maybe less with good behavior. But this is your moment to speak. The judge turned to him. Mr. Caldwell, do you wish to make a statement before sentencing? Ethan stood slowly, cleared his throat. Yes, Your Honor. He scanned the room and found Lauren seated near the back. Emily on her lap, tiny pink headphones over her ears. She was too young to understand this. But someday, she would. I built a life measured by acquisitions and leverage. I believed I was untouchable. That power was the same thing as purpose. I lied. I hurt the people closest to me. My daughter came into this world fighting for her life, and I nearly missed it because I was chasing a deal. He paused. The courtroom was silent. No amount of restitution or time behind bars will undo that. But I'm here, fully. No lawyers, no excuses. I plead guilty because I am guilty. Not just of violating the law, but of forgetting what truly matters. He looked at Emily again. And I intend to spend the rest of my life becoming the kind of man she can be proud to call father. The judge nodded once. Mr. Caldwell, this court accepts your plea and sentences you to 26 months in federal custody, with eligibility for supervised release after 18. May this be the beginning, not the end, of your accountability. The gavel fell. It was done. Outside, as the crowd cleared, Lauren approached, Ethan turned to her slowly. Thank you for coming. She wanted to see you, Lauren said, motioning to Emily, who peeked out from her stroller with wide amber eyes. Ethan knelt down. Hey, baby girl. She offered him a crumpled, drawing 3 stick figures, holding hands under a sun. He smiled. Is this us? Emily nodded. Ethan looked up at Lauren. Can I write to her? From prison? Lauren nodded. You can do more than that. We'll visit, but it'll be on my terms. I understand, he said. And for once, he truly did. As officers approached to escort him, Ethan knelt once more, pressing a gentle kiss to Emily's forehead. I love you, he whispered. Lauren met his gaze. Don't say it, she said. Live it. And with that, Ethan turned and walked toward the waiting car. The world he once ruled dissolving behind him. Yet somehow, for the first time, walking toward something that felt like truth. Maybe not redemption. Not yet. But the road there had finally begun.